We will start this morning off with Morgan State University head coach Fred Farrier. Morgan State fell to South Carolina State this past Friday night and will return home to host Savannah State this weekend. Good morning, Coach. How are you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. Without trying to reflect on what happened too much last week, what were some of the positives that came out of the game at South Carolina State?
I think anytime you come away and you are unable to come away with a loss, there's some things that obviously you got to correct. But, at this point in time of the season, we are trying to find things that we can build on. And, in this game, for 3/4 of the game, it's probably the best we've put together offense, defense, and special teams. Coming out of that game, we blocked 2 punts, ended up with 2 safeties. We blocked the field goal attempt, had some good play in special teams, and really played very well defensively, with the exception of 3 or 4 plays. There's 17 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. So our defense did some things that, give us a sign that, better things are to come and that those guys are buying into what we're asking them to do. We're at a point where we've got to coach through the big mistakes. Big mistakes are costing us in a big way. You're in a game where you got a chance to, you got the lead 14-7. You got a chance to get a score and kind of extend the lead and put them in a situation where they become uncertain about where they are and kind of start to put the game away, and we were really unable to do that. So, for myself and for our coaching staff, we're trying to find ways at those critical times in games, where we can make a coaching decision or to put our kids in the best opportunity to make a play at that particular time to kind of get us over this hump that we've been kind of battling up this hill. We did a few things defensively. Obviously, we played fairly decent again. And we've got to find a way to make a few more plays offensively. We weren't bad on third down offensively. Our conversion rate was in the mid-40 range, which is kind of where you want to be at on third down. And then just in critical times, we got to find a way to make a play. And that's probably the area where we're struggling the most. And, our kids are getting better. They've had a phenomenal attitude. Our kids can see how close they are to being able to get over this hump and get a win. And this game, probably more so than any, we were able to see where our mistakes cost us in a big way. So there's definitely some things that, concretely we know, hey, we got to fix this. And our focus is really paying attention to the details, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and making sure that everybody understands that every little detail is important if we're really going to have a chance to be successful as we move forward. We've got 6 games left. We got our most important game at this point in time of the season coming up, a homecoming matchup against Savannah State. Our guys are excited. It'll be one of our biggest crowds of the year. So, our attitude and our mentality is let's clean up our mistakes. Let's figure out how to get where we want to be at, and let's turn this thing around. So, for a team that's 0-5, they got a really upbeat outlook on where we are, and I think that's a testament to our coaches and our ability to kind of make sure our kids understand that the things that we're experiencing and we're facing really come due to our own mistakes and our own lack of attention to detail. And I think I've got to find a way to clean that up. We will find a way to clean that up, and I think we'll play our best football of the season this Saturday when we line up for homecoming at 1 o'clock.
And speaking of homecoming and your opponent, Savannah State is pretty much almost a mirror image of Morgan State in terms of their team that's kind of similar to you in terms of it being right there on the cusp of grasping victory. Talk about Savannah State from what you've seen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Their team, we're both sitting here looking at the same record. They got a very talented quarterback, Devon Gibbons, a 6'2", 205-pound freshman who is doing some really good things for him. He's athletic. He runs the ball pretty well. He's able to get out of the pocket and make some things happen. And then they got a couple pretty good running backs, a fullback who's making some plays for him, Rashad Saxton at tailback, and then Uriah Oliver at the fullback position, really kind of a two-back system. Those guys are both doing really well for him. So, we're going to have to defend the field. We're going to have to keep the quarterback in the pocket and not let him beat us with his feet. And they're athletic, and when they make some things happen, they can get excited and that type of thing. And we have to find a way to execute what we want to execute, and then find a way to have some success along the way. And then if we're able to get in a position where we can get a lead, then we have to find a way to get over that hump and be able to put a team away. Savannah has been in every game that they played in the MEAC. I think both their MEAC losses are one-score losses. They lost 17-10 this week. And the other game that they played was a fairly closely contested game. So they're going to compete. Their coaching staff and Coach Raeburn have done a good job of really changing the mentality and getting those guys to believe that they can compete at this level, and those guys have kind of reflected that and did it. Defensively, they got a good defense. They don't give up a whole lot of yards. They're only averaging giving up about 200 yards, a little over 200 yards a game. So that's a very good defensive football team. So a little over 300 yards a game. So we got to figure out, where we can have some opportunities to have some success. They're a good football team up front. They got Kevin Bent at nose guard, a 6'4", 300-pound kid who's very strong and athletic. And then they got two agile, athletic guys playing defensive tackle and defensive end, and Brandon Carswell and Stephon Banks. And then they got a couple other guys that they move around at linebacker and put at defensive line and all those different types of things. So it'll be a challenge for us to know where the players are. They're very aggressive in their secondary. They play a number of different coverages in the secondary, so our guys will have to be paying attention and understand what they're looking at and what they're seeing. So it'll be a challenge for us. And, this is the next opportunity for us to kind of show what type of team we think we are, and for our guys to find a way to eliminate our mistakes and clean up what we're doing and really begin to show the type of football team that we think we are. But Savannah's a well-coached football team. Again, they've been in every game, especially in the MEAC, and it'll be a challenge for us. We're looking forward to it. It's our next opportunity to get out there and play. And our guys are excited about playing homecoming and getting another opportunity to try to show what type of football team we are.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like to register for a question, it is 1-4. Once again, to ask a question, it is 1-4. And one moment for the first question. It is from the line of Mike Kingsman. Please go ahead. Your line is now open.
Hey, Coach, talk about Malachi Washington a bit. Has he come into his own this year?
Malachi is kind of growing up. Malachi is a young man that is a very talented player for us. We expect big things out of him, and I think this game statistically really was one of his better games. He did a really good job, throughout the course of this game of getting pressure in the backfield, getting some tackles for loss, some sacks, and kind of wreaking havoc and kind of making his impact known. And he's a young man who's experienced a good amount of tragedy in his life. Just recently, within the last couple of months, his dad was tragically killed, so he's had to deal with the loss of his dad and still be able to focus in and maintain his focus on his academics and his focus in football, to where now he's kind of been thrust into the forefront of responsibility in his family with his brothers and sisters and his mom and that type of thing. And not too long after that, his dad's sister passed away. So he's done a really good job of being able to kind of maintain his focus and kind of use football as his outlet for some of the frustrations and difficult things that he's going through. And, he's just maturing and growing up, and he's really done a good job for us, and we're really happy to have him.
Now, Morgan has never lost to Savannah State, and Savannah is riding an 8-game losing streak, and it's homecoming for you. So it should be a cakewalk, right?
I don't think any game in the MEAC is a cakewalk. We're sitting here at 0-5. We kind of, this week we probably played one of our better games of the season. Savannah's a well-coached team that is looking for a win. So it's going to be really important for us to take care of our responsibilities, to execute, the game plan that we put in place, and to find a way, if we're able to get a lead, to be able to put a team away. This is going to be a well-contested football game. They're coming in here looking for a win just like we are, and we're going to do our best to neutralize the intensity and the enthusiasm that they bring. We've got to make something happen. I think our coaches do a good job of understanding the opponents that we're going against and kind of putting a game plan together, and we've got to do a better job of executing it. Our biggest thing right now is not necessarily the opponent that we're playing against. It's really not shooting ourselves in the foot, not turning the ball over, not having critical penalties at critical times. Reflecting back to our game this past weekend, we've got 6 turnovers in that game. There are not very many football games at any level you're going to win where you turn the ball over 6 times. We fumble the ball on the 2-yard line going in with a scoring opportunity. We throw an interception in the end zone going in on another scoring opportunity where if we just either throw it away or read the play out the way we should, we've got an opportunity to score because there's some other guys on the interception down there. There's another guy on the plate that's wide open, and if we read it the way it should be, it's really an easy throw for the quarterback. There's no stress on him. He just looks the wrong way. We've got to protect the ball. We got a couple other big play opportunities in there. We fake a punt, and we release downfield. That's another play where we would have had the ball inside the 10-yard line with an opportunity to score, and we hurt ourselves. Those opportunities really had nothing to do with the opponent. I take Coach Pough and his team. Those guys are very well coached. Coach Pugh's team know how to win, and if those teams are in the game, they're going to try to find a way to win, and that's exactly what they did. They stuck in the game. They didn't fret, and later on in that game when they found opportunities to make plays, they made plays and they won the game. And I've got to get my team to that point where we believe we're going to find a way to win no matter what the scoreboard says, no matter what the time on the scoreboard says, that we believe we can find a way to win, and we've got to find a way to make a big play at a critical time, which is really what we don't have right now. And the Savannah State game gives us the next opportunity to put our team out there on the field to show the corrections that we're making from last week to this week, and to go out there and put a solid product on the field. And what better time of the year to do that than homecoming in front of all your fans who really want to see us have some success and really want to find a way to enjoy a win on our campus.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem. Thank you.
And our next question is from the line of Phil Schorner from Sports Fever Television Network. Please go ahead. Your line is now open.
Thanks, Coach. Just discuss how you can get the running game going. You guys struggle with that department, but it seems like you have 2 good running backs back there. How can you get the running game going?
That's a really big deal for us. We feel like we've got 2 pretty good guys back there, and we really haven't done a great job of utilizing them. I think over the season, I think this past game was Herb Walker's best game. I think he was somewhere a little bit over 60 yards. Probably got his most touches throughout the course of the game this season. And we've got to continue to scheme up and try to find ways to get those guys the ball. Those are 2 of our best players. And when you're talking about trying to find a way to get first down, score points, all those types of things, keep the ball moving, we got to get those guys going. We're going to continue to try to be creative with the ways that we try to design to get them the ball, but at the same time, we've got to do things that our players can do. I think early in the season, we were trying to do a little bit too much. We weren't really ready to do that kind of stuff up front, and in a lot of those situations, we're getting tackles for loss and stood up at the line of scrimmage and different things because we're asking and we're not catering to what the strengths of our offensive line are. So really to get the run game going, we've got to pinpoint and identify what we do best up front. With our younger offensive line, we got a couple young guys up there who are kind of finding their way through this thing, and our starting center, who's really the stronghold of the offensive line, was hurt games 2 through 5, so 2 through 4, 2, 3, and 4. So this was really his first game back since the first game of the season, and it's almost like the first game of the season for him again. So, trying to get an offensive line that can play with some continuity and can develop some confidence is probably the biggest part of that. I think this weekend against Savannah State, there's some things that they do. We got better at some things last week against South Carolina State, so hopefully we're going to try to build on those things and find ways to get Erik and Herb touches to where hopefully we can get them out in open space and they can make a guy miss and they can create some big play opportunities for us. They're good players. We got to get them the ball. I'm stressing to our offensive coaches continually, hey, we got to get Herb and Erik the ball. How do we do that? How do we get them in open space to where we can, retreat back to the old Barry Sanders rule where we can get 10 out of the 11 guys blocked and leave one guy for the running back. That's Barry's guy. So we're working our tails off trying to figure out how to do that, how to get that running back isolated with a safety to where he's got an opportunity to make one guy miss and create a big play for us. We know it's an issue. We're trying to get it fixed, and we're trying to get some continuity with our offensive line up front, get those guys to develop some confidence, and we can go out and hopefully open some creases and some running lanes for those running backs as we move forward in the season.
We are now joined by Florida A&M head coach Alex Wood. The Rattlers are coming off a loss at Norfolk State last Saturday afternoon and will return home to host North Carolina A&T State this Saturday. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine. Coach, last week your offense is coming high, a season-high performance in terms of total yardage. Just talk about the offense as a whole and their improvement to this point of the season.
It was a good output in terms of production, yards and points. Obviously we didn't score enough points in this particular case, but, this is, we scored 28, we scored 29 in the opener. But again, we need to be able to score at the crucial times in the game. When you can generate that kind of offense, you have to do it one more time if given the opportunity. To do it to close out a game. But we were pleased, obviously, with the numbers, except for what I just mentioned, and not being able to score when you needed to. The things that obviously that's very disappointing and killed our effort was penalties and turnovers. And we had a total of 16 penalties in the game. And you're looking at that, 8 of them happened on offense, 1, 2, 3, 4 happened, on defense. And then, and ironically, I got one, trying to coach one of my guys as he's coming off the field. The guy working the sideline says, hey, you gotta get your guy, and we were right there on the cusp, and I get that, and I'm not criticizing, but I thought that was a little overzealous. I mean, we're moving our way back into the box, and so that didn't help either. But anyway, we can, all the things that happened to us are correctable, and we got a couple of celebration penalties, and here's what I'm going to say about that. Those guys on our team who did that, they got one other shot, and then they'll be celebrating on the scout team, getting some other players ready to go play, because they'll be done, because we're not going to put up with that. We disciplined those guys for that. And it contributed to Norfolk having good field position, and not only that, but put us in some tough situations to try to score. So we're going to address all those things to try to move forward and get better as a team. So again, that's kind of where we are. But I thought defensively we held these guys to an all-time low. I think 69, 79 yards rushing, something like that, and 4 quarters of football. That's pretty good. Again, a lot of good things happened, but it got overshadowed by the things I talked about previously.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is 1-4 to ask a question. One moment. And I'm showing no further question at this time, sir.
Coach Wood, my last question to you will be, just talk about this week's opponent in North Carolina A&T State and what stands out during your preparation.
Well, clearly, they're undefeated for a reason. They've got a good team. They do a great job in preparing their team and then playing the game. Making the most out of their opportunities to play in each and every one of their games. They've got good personnel. They're well coached. And they play hard. So we got our hands full here at homecoming, and we've got to get our guys obviously to understand what they need to do to go and compete and take advantage of this opportunity to play a really good football team at home in front of a homecoming crowd, which generally here at Florida A&M is a packed house and very exciting atmosphere. So we're looking forward to that opportunity. These guys, again, their quarterback Raeburn, he's really doing a good job for them. Their running back Cartwright's doing a great job, as well as Jamari Smith. Those guys do. All those guys. The left tackle, obviously an all-conference player, Brandon Parker. Jermaine Williams on defense. As well as Daryl Johnson on defense. Their cornerbacks are good players. McCain. And also Abram. So they've got a lot of good players. I can mention more, obviously, but those are some of the guys, obviously, that stick out on film and have. But we're looking forward to the game, and it'll be exciting, and we've got to get back on track.
Thank you, Coach. We have several questions lined up for you, so we'll start with our first question.
And that is from the line of Lute Williams from Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hey, Coach Wood, which one of the turnovers hurt you the most? Is it the fumble recovery return for a touchdown?
They all did. Yeah, those two that went for touchdowns obviously hurt the most because it resulted in points. I mean, we gave them 14 points without even having a chance to defend. Or gave 12 points without having a chance to defend in actuality.
And our next question is from the line of Donald Ware from Box to Roll. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Good morning, Coach Wood. How are you?
Good.
Good. Could you speak to or give us your thoughts on how you think Ryan Stanley is doing so far this year?
Well, right now, Raynard, the quarterback, from what I understand, is a leading stat guy in the conference, and Ryan, I think, is second, if I'm not mistaken. And so, he's still, got to do some work, improve each and every game. Got to protect the ball better, obviously. Our turnovers, that was the worst output, obviously, we had all year, because with him in control on our first ball game, we had no turnovers. Our second ball game, we had no turnovers. Our third ball game against Arkansas, we had 1 turnover. Our fourth game against Tennessee State, we had 0 turnovers. Savannah State, we had 1 turnover. North Carolina Central, we had 1 turnover. And then I guess we were saving them all up or some BS because we had 5 against Norfolk State, which is embarrassing, and our kids are embarrassed by that play, and we were all just disappointed. But so he's handled our offense pretty good. The production hasn't been great. This is the second time this year we've been in the 28-point range, which is our goal. So we've got to do that more often, and that falls directly, with the quarterback, but also the supporting cast, the protection, the running, the ball catching, and those kinds of things.
So do you think he's maybe has not progressed or not where he was, I guess, right now this year as opposed to where he was last year?
I don't think I said that.
In terms of his progression?
I don't think I said that. I said he was second. I said he was second in the conference. After the leader of the conference, who's North Carolina A&T, 6-0, he's second to their quarterback. That's what I said.
Right, in terms of the numbers, but I mean in terms of his actual play. I mean, is it better now than it was last year?
He's obviously each week he's got to work at it and get better.
Next up, we have Bethune-Cookman head coach Terry Sims. The Wildcats were off last weekend and are back in action this Saturday as they will host South Carolina State in Daytona Beach. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. I'm doing great.
Coach, just talk about the past bye week and how did practice go now that you had a week to work on and tweak some things without the pressure of a game last week?
Well, I think, last week went well for us. We had an opportunity to get some guys healthy, but we also had a chance to go back to the basics and clean up some things that we've been lacking in the last couple of games. We were able to really hone back in on some of our fundamentals and do some position-specific stuff to really get us back where we need to be.
And now this week, you host South Carolina State, and history says it'll be a physical game. So just talk about the Bulldogs and what you've noticed during preparations.
Well, it is. It's always a physical game, and it's actually been that way since I've been here. The last 8 years, every time we play, it's a tough football game. It's a very physical game. We understand that, and that's what we're expecting. We understand South Carolina State, and that's Buddy Pugh's style, and you can always expect his teams to come in and be physical and play hard. And watching those guys on film, they do just that. They don't take plays off. They go hard every play, and they're doing what they're coached to do. So, when you have that formula, you're getting ready to face a really good football team that is going to do everything in their power to win a football game, and we have to go out and do the same.
Coach Sims, talk about the play of Daquan Richardson, and just describe the type of player he is, and what does he bring to the defense in terms of his leadership?
Daquan Richardson is a very energetic player. He's a young man that comes to work every day. He's one of those hard hat and lunch pail guys. He brings a lot of excitement to our defense. He brings a lot of maturity. And he's people don't talk about it a whole lot, but he's a very, very cerebral player also. He's a smart guy as far as being, where he needs to be and getting other guys lined up on the field. He understands our defense. He understands where he needs to be, and he understands what other guys need to be to fit into our scheme. So he does a lot for this defense. He's the guy that we count on to do a number of things. As far as run support as well as defending the pass. And he does, both of those things very well. Really, just the type of player he is, he's been that way, since the day he stepped on campus. He's the guy that's going to give you his all every single time he's on the field. And you don't have to worry about what's going to happen with him, whether it be run or pass. You're going to get his best effort.
And our question on the phone line is from the line of Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please go ahead. Your line is now open.
Hi, Coach Sims. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Can you talk about this game and the importance of it in terms of the conference race? Because normally in the MEAC, as with most conferences, you cannot win that race with 2 losses. You're sitting at 1. South Carolina State already has 2.
Well, I'm not going to really, I'm not focusing on the entire race right now. We're focusing on this game. We've had crazier things happen in this conference. So, we definitely don't want to drop any more games. We're going to make this game the most important and do exactly what we need to do to keep ourselves in the win column. So, yeah, it's important. It's a very important game. We definitely want to stay in the race. But, like I said before, it's been a lot of things happen in this conference in the past, and you are correct in a sense. Usually if you have 2 losses, it kind of eliminates you, but I guarantee you South Carolina State's not coming here thinking they're out of the race because they have 2 losses. They're going to come give their best effort, and we're going to definitely give our best effort to make sure that we stay in the win column.
Coach, during your bye week, were there some things that you worked on that will be different in terms of when you take to the field this weekend?
No, nothing will be different. We really just took a step back and looked at our fundamentals, and we worked on a lot of position-specific things, and really just continue to keep our timing going, offensively, and making sure that we got some guys healthy. So no, it won't be anything different. We just kind of polished up some things that we've been doing already this year, and tweaked the things that needed to be tweaked to best fit the personnel that we have.
And finally, Coach, unlike many years in the past, South Carolina State doesn't have that one dominant rusher or runner like they've had in the past. So what do you see offensively about this team that concerns you the most?
The thing that always should concern anyone playing South Carolina State, they're going to find a way to get it done. And that's just, those players and Coach Pough and the way he has them, dialed in, they're going to find a way. And they don't have one guy that everybody can really talk about this year as far as being their bell cow, at back. But they have a couple guys that they've been allowing to share the load in the backfield, and they've been doing a decent job. So if I have a concern, it's definitely the quarterback, number one. The kid, he's the guy that you have to make sure you know where he is at all times and what's going on with him. And if not it shouldn't be hard because he's touching the ball every play, but he's definitely the guy that you look and say you have to know where he is at all times, and you want to make sure that we're aware when they're going Wildcat. They have a couple guys that they put in the backfield to run their Wildcat offense with. So those are the things that concern me a little bit, but we're definitely working on them, and we'll be prepared on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
And our next question is a follow-up question from the line of Lud Williams from Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Thanks, Coach. Good morning, Coach Sims. How are you?
I'm good, Lud. How are you?
Not bad. What is your relationship or the school's relationship with Brian Jenkins, and any reaction from you about his situation with Alabama State?
Honestly, I've spoken with him a couple times, and Brian has been my friend for 25 years, and he'll still be my friend. And you never want to see anyone go through anything like that. And we've talked and discussed the situation, and he's fine. You just want to be there to support people in times like this.
And let me ask you this, only because I'm not very familiar with it. I know there was a lot of talk or whatnot when he left Bethune-Cookman about some possible situations that went on while he was there. How much of that, from if you can speak about it from an administration standpoint, how much of that has lingered? I think he made reference to it in the very recent future. He made reference to that. Have those kind of things been kind of cleared up, I guess, to say for sake of a better term?
I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of talk going on, but I think just what he covered when he spoke, that was the gist of it. And it was not really much more than that. And I definitely can't go into detail about it because it's a case that we're not really allowed to speak on because it's been a lot of talk. In a lot of different ways, and you know how it is with media, and I don't want to get anything out there on the airways that may come back to be negative and affect either one of us. But I don't think anything. Huh?
Okay. No, all I was going to ask is, he made reference to the fact that some of these things were still being investigated. Can you speak to that? Is that, from what you know, is that?
No. That's
okay.
what I'm saying. That's the part I can't speak on.
Okay.
We're now joined by Delaware State head coach Kenny Carter. Delaware State is coming off a loss at North Carolina A&T State last week and will return home to host Howard for homecoming this weekend. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine. Coach, after watching last week's film, talk about some of the positives that you saw during the game at A&T.
Well, I'll tell you, we defensively, they threw the ball 31 times. We had 21 plays that were 5 yards or less as far as the passing game. And then, they rushed it 35 times for 117. And so what happens is the explosion plays that you give up. It only takes a couple to put you in a tough situation. And, we get down there and we hold them to 4th and goal. They go for it. We get a pass interference call. I'm not speaking on that one. And so they get 4 new downs and they score. Then we come in, we get a safety, and they get a great return from Chris and get it inside the 5, and they score the very next thing. And right there, real quick, you're down. And when you have a team that's 85% freshmen and sophomores, and you got 4 starting offensive players that are out for the season, 3 offensive linemen in that 4, that's tough. That's tough mentally to get yourself back going. But our biggest things that we have to address is that we have to find ways to score points and support our defense a lot better. If we can get that done, we'll put ourselves in a better position and not worry about who we don't have and focus on who we do have and move forward.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1-4 to ask a question. One moment, please. And our question is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Coach Carter, good morning to you. How you doing, Coach?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Well. Hey, Coach, this game that you have coming up against Howard has always been, in history, has been a game where anything can happen at any given time. It's almost like you throw the records out the window. What are you expecting from the Bison, and what have you seen on film?
I expect that they're going to come in and they're going to play really well. They do some really good things on offense. It's a little bit unconventional with some of the sets that they get in and how they like to flood the field with in the passing game with their backs coming out of the backfield. So it's very innovative. It's going to be a challenge for us. But on the other side of the ball, we defensively, it's like playing Delaware all over again because it's the same defense, and those guys are tied together, Coach Rocco and Coach London, and the whole Richmond connection. The defense is exactly the same, so it gave us an opportunity to kind of go against the same defense, twice. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun to play them, and like you say, it's always been a very tight game. In our time here, we were 1-1 against them, and it came down to the very end in both games.
And Coach, I'll look at your team real quick. Offensively, I'm always asking you about your running game with Eileen, and then you have West back there, and then you have Black at the quarterback position. How, as far as productivity from the last game, what is it that held these guys up, aside from the North Carolina A&T defense? And what are you looking for them to, I guess in reference to their growth this week as you get ready for the Bison?
The biggest thing for us right now is just continuity from injuries and all those things. And when you lose 3 starters in the offensive line from the beginning of the year, that makes it really tough. And so we have one of our players, because of the class schedule, is virtually impossible to get into one of the practices to get him to practice on Tuesday. So we have to move people around, and it makes it tough. And that sounds like an excuse, but it's not an excuse. It's just reality. So when you're young and you got guys that are inexperienced and you're starting 3 freshman offensive linemen, they're going to have growing pains. And so we just work our way through it. And as far as preparing for Howard, we just settle in, and we have pared down the things that we're doing. I mean, you get in the red zone, you get yourself across the 50, you got to find ways to get points. And so there's no excuse for that. Youth is not an excuse. You got to go out and execute. And so we keep beating it down and trying to really just narrow it down to give ourselves an opportunity to go score points.
And my last question to you, Coach, give me your impression of Kalen Newton, the quarterback for the Bison.
He's a shorter version of his brother. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be around Cam when I was at the University of Florida. We were there at the same time, and Cam just very strong arm, athletic. Some of the throws that they ask him to make, being able to to throw out routes, and some of the wide screens that they throw from hash to far sideline, and he throws the deep ball well. I mean, he does a lot of good things, and obviously he can keep a play alive on his feet. So once he starts running around, there's some you hold your breath a little bit because he's very talented.
And one more, I apologize. Will there be any part of the game, special teams, offense, defense, that you think will carry the most weight in this contest?
Well, I think the kicking game is always a factor. It's all for us. We take a lot of pride in that. It's a big deal to us. Our kicker and punter are right now they're as productive as anybody in the country. Our kicker's 100%. I mean, heck, he had a 48-yarder in the game Saturday, and our punter is fantastic. So we do a lot of things to try to set ourselves up for success. We try to give our defense a long field. We try to give our offense a short field in the return game. We try to block punts. We go after punts a bunch. I mean, everybody knows that in our conference. I mean, that's no mystery. But I think that's a third of the game that really is going to have a big factor. And then defensively, it's going to come down to who can play the best defensively, and obviously we got to score points. If we can score points, then we give ourselves a chance to be in the game.
Coach Carter, always appreciate you. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
And our next question is from the line of Ty Miller. I follow up. It is with SBN Sports. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hey, Coach. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Coach. Dating back to last season, the Howard Bison gashed your defense for 399 yards on the ground. Anthony Villiard had about 281 yards of that. He's not been that bell cow this year, but how aware of you of him, and with the added fact that Newton does put pressure on the defense on the corners, and your ends of play assignment football?
Oh, shoot, that Anthony Villiard is as good a back as there is in the country. I mean, I don't know why he's not getting any more touches. That's not my business. That's coaching his staff's responsibility. But he's a very, very good back. And I mean, you talk about the fact that they gashed us, we gashed them too, because Mike Waters had over 200 yards rushing in the same game. But you just got to play sound. We've done a good job. We've done a good job this year against the run, and so I'm looking. I know our guys, our defensive linemen, our linebackers are looking forward to defending the run in this game. I mean, heck, last year North Carolina A&T rushed for over 340 yards on us. They rushed for 117 on 35 carries in the last game. So we know that there's challenges. One thing we had to fix was run defense, and we've done that. We got to get it all together now and stop the pass too, which they do a really good job of.
And Coach, you mentioned Coach Rocco and that offense that he ran down at Richmond, runs at Richmond. Can you talk about that in more detail about how that does give you maybe a leg up on what Howard's doing right now?
Well, it was their defense, not their offense. It was their defense.
Okay.
It just gives you, because you've gone against it, it gives you a little bit more of an understanding of the things that work against it. But to have already had a lab experiment in playing a game against it, you have a better understanding, and our kids have a better understanding of, hey, this is how they do this is how they do that. Obviously, they're gonna scheme, and Mike's a smart coach. Mike knows that we know that it's the same defense, so I'm sure they'll have things that they will adjust that they'll do to try to offset that.
Speaking of Howard, we're now joined by first-year Howard University head coach Mike London. The Bison fell to North Carolina Central this past weekend and will head to Dover, Delaware to face Delaware State. Good morning, Coach.
Morning to everyone.
Coach, just talk about some of the things that stood out versus North Carolina Central last week.
Yeah, I tell you, they're a very good team in a lot of ways, a lot of facets. They did a great job in executing, their game plan. The quarterback was, made a huge difference for them. Just like I said, they play with a sense of having been there, done that before. But I tell you, I was very proud of our football team in going toe to toe with them and actually having opportunities to win the game. You know, at the latter part of as the game was going on, having a 7-6 halftime lead, and I thought defensively we played well. We just we self-inflicted some things that sometimes youth causes issues that can turn a game. But I tell you what, to play last year's co-champion and a team that's been in year out and been kind of one of the teams mentioned in the MEAC for our guys to play and battle and compete. I thought we did a pretty good job, and we're it's amazing just to kind of see the improvement over from game to game with just how things have gone on. It's hard for me to imagine that, not having been here, but from people who we play and coaches that you talk to, that I'm so pleased and proud of the players' progress. Now we got to get in some more close games if we do and have a chance to pull them out and win. But it was a great game, and it's a game to learn from, that you can't get down, and the margin for error is so thin that you have to execute, have some poise about you. But now we got to get ready for Delaware State, which is a team that's looking for a win. It's their homecoming, so there are a lot of other things that obviously they have in terms of getting back on the right side of the ledger, but we have as well in terms of tasting what it feels like to win a game, particularly down the stretch, and know that we're plays away.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. Our first question is from the line of Lute Williams from Black College Sports page. It is the follow-up. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Good morning, Coach. What was the most frustrating thing about it? I think you got into the red zone 4 or 5 times, didn't come away with points. Was the penalty on Kalen? Did you get an explanation from the referees about that unsportsmanlike penalty? Was it something he said, or was it just the flexing that he did after the run?
I always say, like, the great thing about a freshman is they're freshmen. They got a lot of time with you. The worst thing about a freshman is they're freshmen, and sometimes the emotion and things like that. But wasn't anything said. Perhaps it was the body gesturing. That was critical because we were inside the 5, chance to score. But that it wasn't the only thing. We didn't score because we missed a field goal, and then later on there was a field goal block. And I would say those 2 things, and the one we had another young freshman misjudged a kickoff return ball and actually got downed on the 1-yard line. So it came down to a couple things that were key, critical, and seen to everyone that was there. But it's just a matter again of those close games and having some poise there at the end. But we're in position to win a football game. We didn't. They did, and that's why they're co-champions and where they are. But we're getting better, Luke. And we're looking to continue to keep the progress going to really make this season one that's memorable for us. So there's a lot of things yet to be learned, but we're still learning as the process goes on.
Kalen threw for over 300 yards. Did you think that you were going to have to do that much passing, put up those kind of passing numbers, or was it the fact that it appeared that field yard was a little limited?
Yeah, a lot of times you're trying to game plan. You see what teams are doing. If they're bringing a safety down in the box to stop the run, then obviously you have to be willing to play action pass and throw the ball on the perimeter or throw it deep. And one of the positive things that occurred for us was that we had 8 plays of over 31 yards, which accounted for 248 yards of that offense. We talk about explosive plays. So the ability for Kalen to throw the ball deep and not being afraid to do that and throw it out there and let the receivers run under it, that was critical. And we're going to have to keep doing that. If we're going to run the ball, the play action pass part of it is critical for our success.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Good morning, Coach, and belated happy birthday to you, Coach. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Trevin. Thanks.
No problem, Coach. Hey, Coach, talk about the penalties in the pass game and the focus that you'll develop this week in working with the team. And I know it was 11 penalties for 77 yards, but what I'm referring to is I think the timeliness of the penalties, if there ever could be a situation like that.
Yeah, the penalty battle is one of the elements of what can cause you to lose a game. Sometimes it's where the penalties are. For us, when they occurred, there might have been a third, short 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. When you false start, then all of a sudden you back yourself up, and then that allows the defenses then to bring pressure and dial up pressures and make you throw hot throws where you're trying to get the yardage, but they hit the quarterback or they impede the receivers from getting off the line of scrimmage. So those things are critical, and addressed, and will continue to be addressed because it will affect players' playing time. But when you get down to it, those situations where there's holding or I think a chop block was called, things like that can cause a progress of an offense that's moving forward. Cause you issues, particularly in a close game against a really good team. Those things cause you some concern. So we addressed that on Sunday. We addressed it yesterday, and that'll be a focal point of our practice today as we get ready for Delaware State.
And Coach, the Bison to me, if I may make the comparison, they're like a boxer. Will take the best punch from the opponent, but then come back swinging with uppercuts and just jabs, and then try to deliver that knockout blow. And I say that because it appears to me like as the Bison, who may be behind in their games, always seem to find a way to stay in it in the final minutes.
I would agree with that assessment to the point. Just look at the games now. Having been in outside of the Richmond game, but scoring some points, but having been in those games that still playing in the fourth quarter and having a chance to win games, and that's UNLV, Kent State, Bethune-Cookman, and obviously Central. And it just speaks to a different mindset and attitude that the players have here. That you're never out of it, and we've lived it, we've experienced it. Like I said, I'm very proud of the overall effort in terms of what this team is showing out on the field. And so we just got to continue with the mindset and use the boxer analogy where you run to the middle of the ring and you throw haymakers. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you miss, but you're swinging. And if you're swinging, you have a chance to connect. And so those are the critical elements that we will keep preaching and talking about. But the effort has been really, really good. But we need to continue on a path that's going to take us up to Dover, Delaware, where there's a team that's waiting for their first win, and we're going to have to continue to do the things necessary to allow us to have to go 3-3.
And my last question to you, Coach, I won't monopolize your time. I heard Coach Carter compliment your backfield. But Coach Carter also has a running back in his backfield that I see he's using as far as even on special teams in Bryson Eileen. What have you seen of this back, and how dangerous do you think he is?
I tell you what, he's really, really good. I think he's fast. He might be the guy that runs and gets the tee after the kickoff and runs back to the sideline because you don't see him. That's how fast he is. So they've got they've got some guys that can really flat out just run, and they do so many different things, so many different formations that you better be on point in terms of how you defend them because you have to know who's eligible, who's on, who's off, and all those things. So, but I've known Kenny, Coach Carter for a while. Or, kind of our coaching careers have kind of mirrored in some ways. We've coached against each other at different places. Have a lot of respect for him, and I know he's going to have his team ready to play. But we look forward to having an opportunity to get back, in a competitive atmosphere again when we have a chance to win, and so we're excited about that challenge.
Appreciate you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, good morning to you.
Hi, Ty. Morning.
Coach, this is an off-field question in terms of your team and their meetings. Have you all had any conversations about what is going on nationally regarding the national anthem and players taking a knee and the social issues around that?
we're at a university that's a school of higher learning, and it's important, as I always talk to the players, to become an educated man, particularly in the 21st century. I mean, we live literally right next door to the world's most powerful city, and being cognizant of what's going on, socially is something that we talk about. And it's something that our guys are very much in tune to. They're in tune to from the hurricanes that happened, in Texas, Florida, Puerto Rico. We talk about several other aspects. I was a former police officer. We talk about things like that. My father was a military Air Force veteran. So there's some players on our team that have parents and family members in the government. So there's a lot of dialogue that goes on, and becoming educated about it is critical to anybody's development. And it's something that I appreciate, the fact that a young man here at Howard can whether you're for or against, can articulate his thoughts or ideas about something, and we have a conversation about it, and know that at the end of the day, when we're done, we're all on the same page, and then we prepare ourselves for the things that we do, like play football. And so that's how we've approached that. Sorry for the long-winded answer, though.
Well, no, that's exactly what I'm looking for in terms of specifically, have there been any kind of concerns about the national anthem being played, and whether or not, and I know you've spoken to your military background and others on the team who have fathers who are in the military, have there been any specifics or any kind of situations when the team is taken to the field?
Not for us. We're inside the locker room, during the national anthem. There's some things that we do in terms of preparation prior to going out that I'd like to take a little bit more time doing. But it hasn't been, not for us at this point. Although we've talked about it as a team. We talk about a lot of things as a team. Socially, our guys are involved in the community service aspects, as you well know, from bone marrow donations to working with middle school kids to food drives to everything. So I'm very proud of our team and the individuals that we have, and the social networking and the community service things that we do. So I think this is it's a great venue for a young man to become fully educated, both on the field and particularly off the field.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend as you head to Delaware State, and happy belated 35th birthday.
Oh, I love that. That's right. The new 55 is the new 35. Thanks. Appreciate that.
You said it, Coach. I didn't. We're now joined by Norfolk State University head coach Latrell Scott. The Spartans are coming off a win over Florida A&M this past Saturday, and will square off against Hampton in the annual Battle of the Bay this Saturday afternoon, live on ESPN3 and shown later on ESPNU. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ron. How about you?
I'm fine, Coach. Summarize last week's game from your perspective as your team captured an emotional win versus Florida A&M.
A very tough football game. I think both teams played their hearts out. We were able to get some turnovers to help us, put some points on the board. Defensively, we didn't play as well versus the run as we usually do, but obviously the guys on defense were able to get the ball and score some points for us. Offensively, when we needed to put drives together and score points, we were able to. So very fortunate to win a football game, and it's a huge win for our program going forward.
And briefly, just talk about Jawan Carter's performance. He grew up before our eyes last week in terms of especially his play in the second half. Just talk about his progression as the game went on.
Well, he gets better and better week in, week out. He's still a true freshman. Obviously, not far removed from high school football, but we're trying to limit the things that we ask him to do. And he's managing our offense right now. He does a great job taking care of the football. Does a great job making good decisions. And, he's really, really learning how to prepare and get himself in tune so that the team has the ability to follow him on Saturdays.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1-4 to ask a question. Once again, it is 1-4. One moment, please. And our question is from the line of Lud Williams from Black Collar Sports Page. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Coach, good morning, Coach. Is
this the first time that you and Connell have gone into the Battle of the Bay, both undefeated in conference play?
I'm not sure. Obviously, this is our one as competitors, but I'm not really sure whether this is the first time we're both, undefeated.
Obviously, being undefeated, I don't know how the game could take on more significance, but certainly is a factor in terms of staying in the hunt for the championship.
Well, obviously, we're trying to win the conference, and so are they. I think this is one of Connell's best teams, especially defensively. You look at those guys on tape. They're flying around. They're big. They're physical. They're aggressive. And we're going to have to play very well to have a chance to be competitive. I'm looking forward to it. I hope both cities are looking forward to it. And, we need to do right by these kids and try to get as many people in the stands as we can for the Battle of the Bay.
How would you assess being able to come out with that win? I know there were 2 big turnovers. I think you mentioned that in your opening comments, the win over Florida A&M. Overall, how your team played. Obviously, I would assume those big turnovers were probably the deciding factors in the game. But how did your team play overall?
Well, I'm proud of the way they played because they continue to fight. The game was back and forth the entire day, and I'm not sure that's a game that we would have won a year ago. Sometimes you have to learn how to win, and I'm not sure that we're exactly where we need to be. But again, I think our kids are very competitive, and you can see the fight and the fire on both sides of the ball. So for those guys to be able to come out of that game with a win is huge for us all.
And that play, could you describe that 96-yard touchdown that your defense got? How did that play develop?
Well, they ran up. I think it was an outside zone, and our safety, Nari Quinley, was going to make the stop on about the 4 or 5 yard line. And while he was wrapping up, he put his hat on the ball, and JT Wahi, our corner, picked it up and scooped it, and it's a 96-yard touchdown. I mean, that's huge. You go from possibly giving up a touchdown to gaining one, and that's huge momentum in that game.
Now, correct me. I saw the stat. Is Wahi the same guy that scored a touchdown on offense?
No, they're brothers. They're brothers.
Okay.
George is the older brother that's a wide out. JT's the younger brother that's a corner.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Coach. Good luck this weekend at Hampton.
Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead.
Good morning to you, Coach Scott. How you doing this morning?
Good, Trevin. How about you?
I'm doing well. Hey, Coach, I'm a Spartan alum, and the Battle of the Bay is huge. That's why I mentioned it. I know how excited I get, even if I'm not, away from Norfolk. Can you talk about the Battle of the Bay, the significance, and how exciting this type of the atmosphere is? And this year, I think it's Parents Weekend and Greek Day, so you have all that with the Battle of the Bay. Can you just talk about the aura?
Well, I think the Battle of the Bay is a very special game for our community. I know for both sides of the water, it's an opportunity for those fans and alumni to get together. Obviously, the Hampton-Norfolk State rivalry goes back to the CIAA days. I had the opportunity to play in it 4 times in college. It's always been a great football game. Records don't matter. In this case, obviously, both teams haven't lost a conference game, so that should just make for that much more. But I know the thing that, the possibility of having a great crowd for both of these fan bases is huge for us.
And I know that you talked about the Pirates defense coming into this one when you were just talking to Luke. And then Raheem Husky, I think number 26 for the Pirates. Have you seen this gentleman on film, and what have you seen of him? He had 7 solo tackles in the last game, 11 total. How significant do you think he'll be in this one?
I think he's their leading tackler, if I'm not mistaken, but he's a ball hawk.
Yes, sir.
He's has the ability to make plays in space, but he's not the only one. Number 94, another linebacker, is a big-time football player. They got, 3 defensive linemen that can play anywhere in the conference. So, and a big-time free safety in number 1. So, Coach Maynor's got, some guys over there that are making some plays for him.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the development of your quarterback, with him being a true freshman, talk about his growth and talk about his focus and how impressed are you with his maturation at this point?
Well, I am impressed with him because he's an 18-year-old young man, and he does find a way to get better week in, week out. Doesn't make the same mistakes over and over again, and football is important to him. He's a great student in the classroom, which also helps him
to prepare. So we're proud of the strides that he's made so far, and we need him to continue to progress.
And do you anticipate the running game doing a little, if I may, Coach, doing a little better in this contest as opposed to the one that you just came out of against FAMU?
It needs to. We ran the ball for 100 yards versus FAM, and obviously we lost some yardage because of some sacks. But the way that we're calling our offense now is, some of the short, quick passes that we're throwing aren't as good as some runs. So, we do need to have the ability to line up and try to move some people around. But at the end of the day, if it comes down to us having to throw the ball 50 times to win it or run the ball 50 times to win it, we'll do whatever we feel like we have to.
We're now joined by Hampton University head coach Connell Maynor. Hampton picked up a hard-fought win at Savannah State last week and will travel across the Bay to face Norfolk State in the annual Battle of the Bay this Saturday at 2 o'clock. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good, Ryan. How you doing, man?
I'm fine, Coach. Last week you said Savannah State was better than the record indicated, and it was true to form. It was a tough contest. Just talk about some of the highlights that stood out to you against the Tigers.
It was just like I said, it was going to be a tough game, and we had Alden Knight, caught the go-ahead touchdown, which he's been doing all year. But what you don't know is he dropped one before that, and so about 3 plays later we came back to him, and he made up for it. But it was hard-earned, man. We knew they had a great defense, and they was kind of inconsistent on offense. So, but they had the opportunities. We threw a pick, and the corner's going down the sideline, and our quarterback made the tackle and ran him out of bounds, and we was able to keep him from scoring. So, that was a big play. And then we got a 10-point lead late in the fourth quarter, and we in cover 3, and let the guy get behind us some kind of way. And these kids are selfish these days, and the kid does a flip right before he scores, and of course that's a penalty. They called it back, marked it off from the 15-yard penalty from there, and first and goal now to 16, and and they have to kick a field goal. So it's they had a couple opportunities, and we were just happy to get out there with a W. Man, it was hot. I mean, it was 90 degrees, and it was probably 100 degrees on the field, and it showed. I mean, we had people throwing up. A couple of our trainers, female trainers, almost had heat exhaustion. 3 of our band members passed out. I think about 3 or 4 other people in the stands passed out. So it was crazy hot, but we just glad to get out of there with that W, man, because that's a good football program. Raeburn is doing an excellent job with those guys, and we knew it was going to be that way, and it was.
Thank you, Coach. Well, I'll open up the call for questions from the media.
Okay.
Our first question is from the line of David Johnson from Daily Crafts. Please go ahead. Your line is now open.
Good morning, Connell.
Good morning,
Dave. And all games especially all league games, are of equal importance in the standings. This game's always been pretty special. How important is it? How much does it matter to you guys that you've lost 3 in a row? Is beating them even more important right now?
Well, it's the next game. So the next game is always the biggest game. It don't matter if you beat them the last 3 years or they beat you the last 3 years. What matters is this week, and that's all that matters. We 2-0, they 2-0, and we still control our own destiny just as they do. And it's the biggest game of the season, and it happens to be the Battle of the Bay.
If I remember correctly, turnovers played a really big role in last year's game. I know you had 4 last week, even though it sounds like the weather was pretty brutal. How important is just ball security in a game like this, or in any game for that matter?
Well, it's very important, especially when you got 2 great defenses. Norfolk State got a very good defense, and we got a good defense. And, turnovers, field position is huge. It's huge in a game like this. It might not be a lot of points scored, and so you got to take care of the football. We feel we can take care of the football and make them drive the field. We have an excellent chance to win the game. I'm pretty sure they feel the same way. If they can take care of the ball and make us drive the field, they have an excellent chance to win the game. So, we got to do a better job of that offensively, of not turning the ball over, because our defense is doing a heck of a job of causing turnovers and playing good defense.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Our next question is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead.
Coach Maynor, how you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good, Trev. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Coach. Thanks for asking. Hey, Coach Maynor, I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Coach Scott. Do me a favor and talk about the battle of the day. And it's a classic between those two schools. Well, they're 15 minutes apart. Can you talk about the environment, especially since the Pirates have to go and play in Dick Price Stadium this season?
Yeah, I think it'll be a great environment, and I think for the first time we're going to probably have a big crowd. A couple of reasons. Number one, both of us are undefeated. And number two, we're probably going to finally get some good weather. You know, we've been not very blessed with good weather opportunities in this game. Last year the weather was pretty good, but when we've been over there, you know, it was raining, and you know, they got a nice huge stadium, so we would love to pack that stadium, get all the community out, support these guys, and let it be a great game. It's rivalry week. I mean, it's no different from NC State, Carolina, Auburn, Alabama, but now it's Norfolk, Hampton, you know, so Dallas Cowboys, Washington Redskins. It's rivalry week. It's what these guys grew up with these guys, played against these guys, go to the same barbershop, you know what I'm saying, talk to the same girls, go to the same parties. So it's bragging rights. It's bragging rights, and you don't want them to have the bragging rights for another year, so you go out and play as hard as you can.
And Coach, talk about what part of the game, if any specific part, may be significant. And I asked that question, I'm speaking in reference to special teams, defense, offense. Do you think any part of those three categories will carry more weight than another?
Well, you know, you can't never put your finger on it, but you know, special teams probably be a big part of it. You know, field goals, field position, punts, things of that nature. Short fields, long fields. If a punter can turn the field, you know, if we can pin them down or they can pin us down on a good punt inside the 3 or 4, you know, where now if you get a 3 and out, you know, you're going to have good field position at the 50 or the plus 40 coming back. So I think it'd probably be, in games like this, a lot of times it comes down to the kicking game.
Okay. And, Coach, I heard you refer to defense, and you talked about Norfolk State's defense earlier in the conversation. Number 11, Anthony Smith. Number 31, Kyle Archie. Nigel Chavis, number 9. Those guys had double-digit tackles last week. Have you seen these gentlemen on film, and what is your impression?
Yeah, I see them everywhere on film, man. These guys, they're everywhere, man. Those guys are ball hawks. They're tough. You know, they're in and stopping the inside zone and power, and then you run a jet sweep, they're making the tackle. You're throwing screens, they're making the tackle. The guys are everywhere. So, like I said, they got a great defense, and they got a knack for getting turnovers, man. And not only getting turnovers, man, they'll take it to the house on you. So, you know, we got to try not to let their defense score, man. They remind me of Alabama, man. You know, they got ball hawks over there, and they be looking for the end zone, and they're not just trying to recover it or just intercept it or break it up. They're trying to pick it and take it to the house. So we got to do a good job of making sure we take care of the ball, because that defense can turn a turnover into points.
And my last question to you, Coach Yaquis Johnson. How's he looking so far? Are you impressed with his development this season? And what can we expect from him this weekend?
You're going to get a lot of effort from this guy. You know, he's got a motor. He's going to give it his all every play. That's all he knows, is to play hard. He's doing an excellent job for us this year. You know, he made a couple big plays last week, and you know, we played McKenzie a little bit, but you know, Yaki is our guy, so we're gonna get him the ball, and he's gonna play hard, and you know, and that's all we can ask for him.
We're now joined by Savannah State head coach Erik Raeburn. The Tigers fell to Hampton last week and will travel north to Morgan State this weekend. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Morning.
Coach, briefly talk about some of the positives that came out of last week's game versus Hampton.
Well, I thought our defense played well. You know, minus a couple big plays. You know, they fought hard and able to create some turnovers. You know, takeaways to help as well. I thought we got good effort on special teams. unfortunately, offensively, we struggled again.
And this week, you're facing a Morgan State team that's somewhat similar to you all in terms of have a solid defense, and you've come close to victory on several occasions throughout the season. Just talk about the Bears and what you watched on film.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. They've played excellent defense, really good up front. D-line is really athletic, big, strong, and athletic. And then they basically get up there and play man-to-man the whole game, and they got a bunch of guys that can run in the back end. So they just kind of gang up to make it difficult for you to run the football, but they have the guys in the back end that can hold up in the passing game, one-on-one with your receivers. And obviously we've struggled to throw the football with our starting quarterback lost for the season and playing a true freshman. So for us to have any success against them, we're going to have to throw it better than we've thrown it these first three conference games.
Coach, I have one question to ask about your quarterbacks. You've been forced to rely on several quarterbacks who basically have to play at any moment's notice. How do you handle that process during the week and making sure they're all prepared to step on the field when called upon?
Yeah, it's with TJ going down with the injury in our App State game, kind of forced us to play Devon Gibbons, who's a true freshman. I think he's handled the difficult situation well. But when you play a true freshman at quarterback, there's going to be growing pains for sure. Up until this week, he had done a good job of taking care of the football, but obviously got sacked and fumbled on Saturday, and then threw 2 interceptions down in the red zone, which kind of killed opportunities for us to at least attempt a field goal. But he's working hard. He's doing everything you ask of him. Watching film, he's working hard to improve and help our football team. But there's 10 other guys out there with them that need to improve their game as well. We have struggled up front and haven't protected our quarterbacks, which is complicated and contributed to our lack of passing. But so hopefully it'll be a tough task this week because they're fantastic up front at Morgan State. But hopefully we'll start to see better play out of our offensive line.
We have a phone question that is from the line of Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please go ahead.
Coach Raeburn, good morning to you.
Morning.
What is the difference in the momentum that your team had, I guess around this time last season, midway of the season, when you had a couple of wins or were close to it? What's the biggest difference? Is it the youth of your team right now?
Yeah, I guess we have so many young guys playing, and every game is we've been in every game and had a chance to win, and we somehow just make a really critical mistake at the worst possible time. And this weekend was a perfect example. We haven't played well offensively the whole game, but our defense and special teams have kept us in it, and we throw a touchdown pass with about 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. It would bring the game to 17-14. We have the win. We got all 3 timeouts. Our defense been playing good, but our freshman wide receiver who caught the pass, decides to do a front flip into the end zone at the 1-yard line. So instead of getting a touchdown, we get an unsportsmanlike penalty, and now we got the ball at the 16. The very next play they sack us. So we eventually end up kicking a field goal, but now we've lost, about 2.5 minutes off the clock, and got the ball back late, but and drove down there to about the 40, and then got called for a high-low. So we just constantly shooting ourselves in the foot, and
making it harder on ourselves to win a football game.
Coach London of Howard mentioned that earlier with freshman players that you have to live with those growing pains. So what was the teaching moment in that situation when you had the young man do the flip?
Yeah, we just wanted to point out to him just how selfish that is. I told him go look at the defensive guys. Look how hard they've been playing. It was like 90 degrees out. I mean, it was hot, and those guys, man, they were exhausted, just playing their guts out, and we got a chance to put ourselves in position to win the game, and we decided to try to be cool and do a front flip. So, I guess to me, it's like it was selfish, and I just don't understand how you could do that when you see how hard everybody else is fighting to try and help us win. I just don't understand why you can't just run in the end zone and celebrate with your teammates. But he's a good player. Obviously needs to mature and put the team first. But it was a costly mistake, and hopefully I think he's learned from it, and hopefully the rest of the guys will too. But that's I guess that's part of playing with freshmen is it's going to be frustrating at times as they kind of learn what it takes to be a good player at the college level.
And last question, Coach, in terms of off-the-field meetings with the team and with the things that are going on in the country right now so far as the national anthem and the flag are concerned, what kind of conversations have you had with your Tiger team?
I guess, we just tried to tell our guys that, obviously it's, those type of things are their decision. They have that right as American citizens, and I guess for me, I want them to do their homework, get all the facts, and do what they feel they need to do, but not just don't just do something because somebody else has done it. But if you feel passionate about a particular cause and you feel the need to protest, etc., then that's your right. But just make sure that it's something that you're passionate about, you feel strongly about, and then hopefully make a positive difference.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Our next question is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead.
Coach Raeburn, good morning to you, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Hey, Coach, I heard you talk about your quarterback situation earlier in the conversation. What is your impression of, number one, Elijah Staley, the 6'7" quarterback that Coach Farrier has there at Morgan State?
Yeah, obviously he is, physically really gifted athlete, and they have, they've been inconsistent on offense like we have, but we're hoping. Obviously, we know what a talent he is, and we're hoping he doesn't, that they don't have their breakout game against us for sure. But he, when you watch him out there, geez, he's an impressive guy, and has all the skills, and I'm sure, learning a new offense and playing with a bunch of new faces and those type of things. I'm sure he's gonna get better and better each and every game that he's in there.
And Coach, breakout game might be a key word. And the reason I say that is because in Morgan State's backfield, you have Herb Walker Jr. number 3, and then you have number 4 Erik. In the past, they've been great running backs, and so far this season, it seems like they're trying to get off the snide and get going. What are you expecting from those guys? How do you, not giving away any secrets, how do you plan for them, and what have you seen of them?
Yeah, I guess we've been concerned about our rushing attack, and obviously I don't care who you're playing, if you don't
defend the run well, you're going to have very little chance to be successful. So, we obviously that we're concerned about them. They really played well against us last year offensively. I think had their best game in the conference last year against us. I think they scored 35 points against us last year. So we know that we know firsthand how talented and how effectively they can move the football. So hopefully we're going to play a better run defense against them than we did a year ago.
We're now joined by South Carolina State head coach Buddy Pough. The Bulldogs are coming off a win over Morgan State last week and head south to Bethune-Cookman on Saturday. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. How you doing?
I'm good.
In last week's win, you pretty much had a team effort from all sides of the ball. Just talk about last week's contest in terms of what stood out to you.
Well, I guess the first thing that stands out is the fact that we were awfully fortunate to win the football game. And Coach Farrier and his outfit came in here and gave us all we could handle. And, they did a nice job of scheming us and giving us a couple of new looks that we hadn't quite prepared for. And, we got off to a pretty good start, but then they get ahead of us and stay ahead for most of the game. And, in the end, we ended up being able to just kind of hang in there. Our defense that did not actually play all that great, did make a lot of good plays. But, consistency, it was kind of a key point on that side of the ball, too. We've been inconsistent all year on offense. And, that seems to have bled somewhat over into our defense and special teams game. So we've had a real soul-searching kind of week of practice here trying to figure out, if we can fix some of our issues, because we seem to be getting, some things into our system that we don't seem to want to try to deal with.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1-4 to ask a question. And our first question is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Pough. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, Trevin. How are you?
Well, Coach Pough, that third quarter in the game against Morgan, have you ever seen anything like that in the game where you had two safeties? I mean, that was a crazy third quarter.
We were awfully fortunate there were safeties. Both plays could have easily been touches, could have been scores for them, could have been 7 points for them. And, they might have put us away, there, while all that mess was going on. But, we were fortunate in the fact that, they went out of the back of the end zone.
And then, Coach, talk about the resilience of your team, I guess, bouncing back from a third quarter like that and scoring the final 3 touchdowns in the game, in the fourth quarter.
Once we finally got a little bit of a break and got the ball down there and got it in, I think that might have relieved, some of the pressure off of us in a way where, we were able to actually flow a little more freely, play a little bit better. But, we played, I thought, tight and not very good, on both sides, I said already. And, the fact that we got ahead a little bit, I think, is what really gave us the opportunity to go ahead and play better in the last quarter.
And, Coach, I always like asking you about the offensive line. And the reason I'm asking this question is because Trey Samuel rushed for 169 yards in this game. 146 net yards. Talk about the effectiveness of your offensive line and how they provided some protection even for DeJuan, who's back there quarterback.
Yeah, Trey had a nice game. And, our offensive line, had its moments of sorts. But, when he wasn't going for, big yards, he was going for minus yards. We had 17 minus yards plays. Might be the most we've had around here in a long time. So, I don't know if I got much good to say about that group right now. And I just got through practicing with them this morning. And they don't like me very much right now. But, the feeling's mutual. So, we're in the process now of trying to get some things fixed.
Okay, and then in BCU, the defense has always been a good defense. Anything sticking out in your mind when you look at the Wildcats defense?
Bethune's defense? oh, it's business as usual. And, you know, we go down there playing the way we played, you know, this past Friday night, you know, those guys are slobber knockers. You know, it'll be damn, I mean, it'll be ugly. So, you know, we've got to, you know, try to see if we can get ourselves together, go down there and play, you know, the usual kind of Bethune team in a hot, you know, steamy kind of afternoon kind of atmosphere. It's going to be probably 100 degrees down there at 4 o'clock this coming Saturday. And, you know, we need to be prepared to get in there and get after that defense because those guys will really be prepared, you know, with an extra week of preparation, you know, for us this coming week.
We're now joined by North Carolina A&T State head coach Ron Broadway. The Aggies are coming off a homecoming win over Delaware State last week and will head to Tallahassee, Florida to face A&M this Saturday. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm fine, Coach. Last week, your team took control of the contest early once again, and you picked up the homecoming win. Just talk about their play last week against the Hornets.
I thought we played well. It was a big win for us, homecoming, big crowd, and I thought our kids stayed focused for the most part and played good enough to win us the ball game.
And this week, you're back on the homecoming circuit again, except it's Florida A&M's homecoming. So just talk about the Rattlers and the challenges they will present going into the game.
Okay, well, I think family's really improved on both sides of the ball when I look at them. Quarterback can make some throws. You know, they had some turnovers last week that really hurt them, but I thought they did a decent job of moving the ball and getting the ball in players' hands and, you know, creating some problems for the defense.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1-4 to ask a question on the phone lines. Once again, it is 1-4. One moment, please. I'm showing no question at this time.
Coach Broadway, last few games, everyone has talked a lot about the offense, but obviously the defense is playing at a similar level as they're coming off a game where they had 8 sacks. Talk about the unit and their growth throughout the season.
Okay, you know, we've tried to play pretty good defense around here, and for the most part has had a pretty good defense since we've been here. You know, we've had some games where we didn't play quite as well, but over the course of 7 years, we've been pretty good defensively. Coach Washington done a great job with them, and, you know, guys understand, you know, how we play as far as the lineman's assignment, fills and fits, and got responsibility. So, you know, we're starting to get some guys back now. You know, we played the last 3 games with 3 of our defensive starters, defensive linemen missing. So we're starting to get some guys back now, and I'm hoping to see some improvement from our defense in the next couple of weeks.
And you mentioned in your post-game press conference about chasing excellence. Just talk about that mindset you're trying to instill in your team as the season progresses.
So it's every play, Ryan. We want to be excellent every play, and I'm not talking about wins and losses. I'm just talking about how you play this game and how you go about trying to achieve greatness. I think you achieve greatness by chasing greatness. I think you achieve excellence by chasing excellence. You know, you'll never do it. I want to see a receiver play a great, excellent game. Probably never happen. But we need to chase it, and hopefully that would bring out something within which makes us play better.
And lastly, just talk about your schedule in terms of it's another game, and you have to have that bye week. How do you combat fatigue if it is setting in, knowing that y'all been going pretty much straight since August?
Yeah, I think we're the only team that's played 6 so far. I think most teams are at 5. And, you know, we got a couple more games before we get to bye week, but we're going to keep grinding. And, you know, like I said earlier, we're starting to get a couple of people back now, and we need to get the bye so we can get a couple more guys back. But the guys are hanging in there, giving us pretty good effort, and they're focused right now. So if we can keep them focused and get a few more kids back, then I think it's going to help us improve.
And our first question on the phone line is from the line of Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Broadway. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty. How you doing today?
I'm good, Coach.
I just want you to comment on one key stat, and it has to be very good for your team. That's a plus 12.
Beg pardon? Turnovers?
Yes, turnovers.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we preached, the second principle in our team is protect the football. The first principle in building our team is stop the run. The second principle, take the football, and we do a pretty good job of that. We threw an interception, I think, last week, but other than that, we protect football fairly well. And we want guys to beat us. We don't want them to give them anything. If we lose, let's make teams beat us. If we don't give them anything, a lot of teams gonna have a hard time doing it. If we can make guys go the distance, don't give them anything cheap, and if we protect the football.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead.
Greetings, Coach Broadway. How you doing, Coach?
Man, I'm good, and I hope you are.
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for asking. Hey, Coach, I just want to have one question. Talk about the significance of special teams and how important it's been in your chase as you chase excellence, and specifically Chris Gardner.
Well, Chris had a heck of a game Saturday. He had 2 brought back because the blocks in the back. He had a couple of heck of returns, and one was brought back because we just had a guy put his hand in some guy's back and push him, and didn't have an effect on the play. It shouldn't have never happened, but those type of things that we're trying to fix and trying to get straight. Chris is special. With the ball in his hands, he's deceptive, and he can make some plays for you. He's chasing the NCAA record as far as punt returns is concerned. So a lot of people kicking away from him, and now we have him back on kickoffs. He had a big kickoff return Saturday, came close to breaking another one. So Chris is a special player for us.
We will close out this morning's teleconference with our final head coach and Jerry Mack of North Carolina Central. The Eagles are coming off a 13-7 win over Howard this past Saturday and will return home to face Gardner-Webb in a non-conference contest. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan.
Coach, each week we go through the same questions. The defense had an outstanding game. The offense made the key plays when they had to. So just talk about last week's game at Howard and just how proud are you in terms of your team winning in that atmosphere.
Another situation where we came out on top in the fourth quarter. I thought the defense played extremely well for 4 quarters. Even their one touchdown that they got, I thought it was just a misassignment or misalignment or whatnot by our defense. But we still did a great job of putting our heels down, limiting those guys to only 7 points on the scoreboard. And offensively, probably actually one of our better games offensively. We saw a young quarterback. He stepped up. He made some good throws in the game, and also, too, we did a really good job, I thought, of running the football on last Saturday. So we probably one of the more productive conference games that we've had on the offensive side of the ball. And it's just week to week, you can see us getting a little bit better. And it's all slowly coming together. Obviously, we wish it would come together a little bit faster as coaches, but one thing our guys are doing, they're finding a way to win those tough games. They understand that they still believe that they can win the game no matter what the score is. As long as there's time on the clock, we always feel like we have an opportunity to win.
Well, this week you step out of MEAC play this season. We step out of the game with a non-conference contest against Gardner-Webb. As a coach, how do you deal with a non-conference foe while in the meat of your conference schedule?
As a coach, and I think as a player too, I mean, it's another game. You get the opportunity to go out there and play a college football game on Saturday. Coaches and players, we are highly competitive. So we work all week to give an opportunity to showcase it for our friends and family that, we're a quality football team. And there's only so many opportunities you get to do this during the course of a season. So this is one of the 11 guaranteed opportunities that we get. So we're excited to go out there on Saturday and have a chance to play.
And speaking of Gardner-Webb, what have you seen from them during preparation?
Really impressed with their quarterback. He's a Walter Payton Award watch guy, and he does some really good things with his legs, and he's continued to grow as a passer. Defensively, they can be stingy at times. They do a really good job. Their linebacker core and their secondary are doing a really good job of flying to the ball and running around. So you see a team that although they haven't won a whole lot of games,
you can see a team that's just getting better week to week. They're very similar to us. They're constantly getting better. Hello?
We do have a question, and that is from the line of Trevin Jones from Howard University Radio. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach Mack, how you doing today, Coach?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, Coach, you getting any extra gray hairs from the play of the team in the past 3 games? I mean, South Carolina State, FAMU, in the last 2 minutes, and then Howard, a tough battle. Talk about the tenacity and resilience of your squad.
Well, I think that's a compliment to just some of our senior leadership, throughout the course of the season and throughout the course of, we always talk about, having that tenacity, being able to overcome some adversity. And that's what we've been noticing about this team. Anybody can win games and the easy way, 14, 21 points. I would love to say that's how we're going to win all our games. But you show the true character of a person in times of adversity. And we've been down in games. We were down in the Howard game. I think we've been down in the South Carolina State game. And, at the end of the day, our guys are finding ways to fight back and win. Definitely, I'm getting more and more gray hair, it seems, week to week. But if that comes with wins, I take it.
I can appreciate that response. Now, Coach, I know you're focusing on Gardner-Webb, but I want to ask you about the Howard game. You had 9 penalties for like 113 yards. Is that a focus that you had with the team this week? And if so, what did you talk to the players about it?
Yeah, I think every week, we kind of focus on those penalties. We try to take a look at what kind of penalties we're getting as well. Some of the penalties, to be honest with you, we can't control. Officials are like any other people. They're human beings. So, some of the things are all subjected to what they call. So, some of those things we have to look at it with in a different light. But overall, yeah, we are focusing on trying to control those penalties, and we're focusing more on what kind of penalties they are to know what do we definitely need to try to control.
Right, and I know that you didn't start the season off with Chauncey at quarterback, but it seems like the freshman is stepping up. Talk about his maturation in such a quick, short period of time.
It's slow, but it's coming along. He's getting better. Like I said, week to week, every game he does a flash. He does something that's really impressive that shows you that he has an opportunity to probably be a really good quarterback in this league. We just need more consistency from him. We need those flashes to come more than just once or twice in the course of a game. They need to come half a dozen or 10 times in the course of a game. We feel like as he gets better and as he grows, our offense will continue to grow and get better. We can be as good as he allows us to be.
And my last question to you, Coach, with this game scheduled against Gardner-Webb after 3 tough conference games, is this a disadvantage to the Eagles, or is it an advantage, or does it help you at all at this point?
I think anytime we get a chance to go out there and play a college football game, it's going to help us. We need as much experience as possible in order to get better. We obviously want to win this game, but it's also it's going to help us gain more experience for those younger guys, more experience as a football team in different situations. There's no better way to gain experience than just to play in games. And this is what we're going to take this opportunity to go out here and try to win a football game and get this experience.
Coach Mack, I appreciate your time, and good luck to you this weekend.
No problem. Thank you.
Our next question is from the line of Ty Miller from SBN Sports. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Coach, good morning to you. Could you talk more about Chauncey Caldwell and the fact that he looks like a pretty good game manager, and he made some great decisions this past weekend?
He is. He's getting better, Ty, at making those decisions. We're working with him every single day to try to get him to understand exactly what the offense requires of him. And I think right now he is managing the game, and he's doing some things that's put us in position to be successful. And as I said last week, that's what any good quarterback does. They put your team in a position to be successful. And I think on Saturday he had several situations where he was able to scramble and get some first downs. He stepped up. He made some key throws down the stretch in order to hit the game with a touchdown. So as he continues to grow and get better and understand that we do have some talent around him, and we're trying to, as coaches, we're trying to manage the game. We're trying to manage him. And I think right now he's getting better week to week.
Coach, talk about the confidence of your staff and of the players, because when you have a streak like you have right now, there's just a feeling that you can win a game like you won this past weekend. And talk about how key it is that this team does not beat itself. It doesn't let the other teams into the game to the point where you give things away?
Yeah, we always talk about more games are lost than won, and that comes back to turning the ball over, getting a ton of penalties down the stretch, things like that. We've been playing great defense in the second half, and that's been probably one of the key attributes to our success this year. Is our defense has been able to make some adjustments at halftime, and if teams have had any success in the first half, the second half they haven't quite found a way. And the same thing on offense, we made small adjustments and things like that. Our team right now is showing a lot of confidence, and when you have confidence as a player, the sky's the limit. Sometimes guys will play over their head because they just believe that they are better, or they believe that they can do some things that normally they wouldn't be able to do. So we've had some success, over the last few years. We have a lot of guys that's got 2-3 championship rings on the roster. They got a lot of snaps, and they understand that we won those tough games. So as long as they go out there and play, and as long as it's time on the clock, they're always going to believe that they have a chance.
And final question, Coach. I want to ask you about discussions with your team about things that are going on nationally so far as the flag and the national anthem are concerned. Have there been discussions about that, and what have they been like?
Nah, not really. We in the MEAC, we don't go out when the national anthem is played, so we don't address that as much.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
No problem. Thank you.
No further question at this.
Coach Mack, lastly, just talk about you received your first national ranking in the Stats FCS poll. Just talk about getting to that point, and you've been there obviously before, but what does that do in terms of letting your team know that people are watching what you're doing?
Anytime you get a chance to be ranked in a national poll, it's always a great compliment to your staff and to your players, because they work extremely hard to get recognition. I think everybody, whether you employed at a business or you're an athlete, you like to be recognized. That's part of it, and I think it's a very great honor for our staff and for our players. But we also understand that with that comes a certain responsibility. If we want to stay being ranked in the national polls, we have to go out there and perform like a top 25 caliber team. And the goal is always not to just be ranked in one poll, but we want to be ranked in several polls. So that's what we continue to fight for. We continue to fight for recognition. We continue to fight for respect, and more importantly, we want to fight to try to win every football game that we allow the opportunity to play in.